In our last video, we explored the laws broken in several states by Lauren the Mortician and her Yonkers Bedonkers attorney, Janet Brown, during their criminal welfare check against caffeinated Kitty. This time, Lauren is committing several civil infractions while at the same time attempting to gaslight the entire internet. Let's get salty, y'all.
Copyright Notice. Limitations of exclusive rights under copyright law fair use. 17 U.S. Code Section 107 states that the fair use of copyrighted work for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, or research is not an infringement of copyright. This video makes use of copyrighted material both with and without the owner's permission for the purposes of criticism, comment, news reporting, and education under the fair use doctrine. Legal disclaimer. Salty Bob is an attorney licensed in the state of Tennessee but is not your attorney. Your viewing of this video does not establish an attorney-client relationship between you and Salty Bob. The contents of this video are not legal advice and are not intended as such. Parts of this video include legal analysis for education and hopefully entertainment.
Put one foot in front of the other, and soon you are walking across the floor.
Hi folks, I'm Ginger Snap. That's Salty Bob's hat. And I actually woke up this morning with a little bit of joy in my heart for the first time in a very long time. So I plan on leveraging that to do as much as possible to get as many videos out as I can really quickly for you guys. If you don't know why there's been a delay, go ahead and pause this video. Go watch this one right here. I promise I will wait for you and come back and see me. Now, if you're back, then let's go ahead and get started with Lauren and her Yonkers Bedonkers attorney. Salty Bob was pretty passionate about this Lauren the Mortician and Yonkers Bedonkers, Janet the attorney, kerfluffle and craziness and insanity. But from the beginning, he really wanted to figure out a way that Lauren could be redeemed, basically. He wanted to make this a kinder, gentler video, since in his mind, basically, she was a non-combatant, because she wasn't an attorney. The one that truly pissed him off was Janet. You can watch the previous video on the wellness checks to see just how much she pissed him off. Because she's got the training, she's got the ethical requirements, and in theory, being an attorney, she should just have the internal moral compass to know better than to do what she did. Whereas maybe Lauren was misled by a Yonkers Bedonkers attorney. But we watched this video multiple times so that we could figure out what we needed to research. Ethics rules, criminal laws, civil laws where you could actually take someone to court, like for defamation. And as we rewatched it over and over and over again, every time that Salty Bob was able to come up with an excuse for Lauren, she came along and she said something else that just knocked it out of his hands. So she's not as bad as Janet, but she's pretty bad. So let's get into the actual video and the crazy things that she believes that legal cease and desist letters are for. What she thinks the purpose of them are. We'll do that, and we will talk about civil infractions as well as criminal infractions, as well as just downright morally bankrupt things that this video is evidence of. So, as Salty Bob would say, let's get salty.
Hi. I called in a wellness check on another creator, and I wanted to talk to you about that, but I need you to understand that there are certain things that I cannot legally talk about. It's not because I don't want to talk about them. I would love to, but I just legally cannot.
Liar, liar, pants on fire. Oh my God. There are legitimate reasons that you might not legally be able to talk about something. And Salty Bob was going to tell you what those were. But he can't. So I am going to do my best to provide you the kinder, gentler, in addition to the snapback of Ginger Snap in this. So this is from Salty Bob's notes about why someone legitimately might want to or might actually tell you that they can't talk about something and not be lying. So these are his notes. While we don't believe any of these reasons actually apply to Lauren, we want to deal with facts. And the fact is that every great once in a while, that statement's actually true. And here's how it could be true. Number one, attorney-client privilege. If you talk to a third party about a conversation you had with your attorney, it's entirely possible that you're forfeiting attorney-client privilege. In some areas, it may be complete forfeit of all attorney-client privilege. In some places, it may just be for that one conversation. But either way, you can forfeit your attorney-client privilege, and you don't want to do that. So obviously, you're not going to talk about that. HIPAA would be another reason you legally couldn't talk about something. Obviously, if you're a healthcare professional, patient information is paramount, must be protected, and you legally can't talk about it. But obviously, we don't think that applies to Lauren in this situation either. A gag order. If a judge has told you, no, I do not want you talking about something, sort of like the judge recently did with Trump, telling him he couldn't talk about the judge's staff, for example. You don't want to talk about that because you'll wind up being brought back into court and sentenced at a show cause hearing because you cannot show cause why you talked about it when the judge told you not to. And so you'll be held in contempt, and that can be fines, that can be jail time, God knows what. So that would be another legitimate reason. And then a non-disclosure agreement. That would be the last really legitimate reason. If you reached a settlement with someone, and as part of the requirements of that settlement, you are required not to talk about it, then you risk not only being held in contempt for violating a judge's order, because never mind, you don't. You risk being taken to court and sued. You risk being immediately having to forfeit whatever you received in the settlement itself. There's multiple different consequences, basically, of breaking an NDA agreement. So there are legitimate reasons. Now, as far as I'm concerned, as Ginger Snap, normally the reason is because they don't want to talk about it. Because they figure one lie is easier than many lies. So if they tell you that they can't legally talk about it, then polite people will just go, oh, and won't ask again. People who are impolite will keep asking, but then you can just point back to the original lie. You don't have to say anything additional. There's nothing else that they can pick apart. Whereas if you lied and said it was a gag order, or if you lied and said it was a non-disclosure agreement or whatever, then there might be additional things that could be done to either pick apart the lie, or people would know then that there are certain things you could talk about. And so then they would keep pestering you. This way, you've only got the one lie. You don't have to remember anything else. You don't have to keep your details straight, nothing like that. That makes things a little bit easier. To be even more fair, there is one final reason that we haven't mentioned yet that someone might tell someone they legally can't talk about something. And it's not really that they can't legally talk about it. It's that their attorney told them not to talk about it, and they were not a total idiot, and they actually decided to do what their attorney told them and not talk about it. So in this particular case, obviously, I think Lauren's a complete idiot. I'm also not entirely sure that I believe that Janet is smart enough to tell Lauren not to talk about it, considering the fact that Janet herself talked about this. So I'm really hard pressed to actually believe that that's what happened. But to be fair, it's possible that Janet wasn't a total idiot and actually told Lauren not to talk about it, and Lauren wasn't a total idiot and listened to Janet enough to at least say that there was some parts that she can't talk about. But, we'll see.
The amount of people putting my face on blast and making multiple part videos that are lies about me is just ridiculous. Of everyone thinking they're going to one up the other and expose me on something that I did. So I'm just going to expose myself and just tell you what I did and why I did it.
Okay. She's going to expose herself. Now, Salty's Bob's notes specifically say, Lauren, you don't get credit for exposing yourself when you've already been exposed. And he had a question, or I had a question rather. She waited how long to expose herself? Of course, his answer was apparently as long as it takes a police department to respond to a public records request. So, yeah. I don't know how she can keep wanting to take credit for stuff that isn't something that you get credit for. But let's see what else we can talk about.
But first, I'm going to tell you a little backstory. I have been dealing with online stalking, bullying, and harassment consistently for the last 2 months. It has not stopped.
Okay. Lauren. This is a lot. Oh, just that little tiny section's a lot all by itself. But first, I want to say, I have written in my script we do not, but I do not condone any stalking, bullying, harassment, period. Full stop. And that's one of the reasons that Salty Bob and I had such problems with Lauren and Janet, because calling the wellness check is bullying and harassment. I mean, it's attempted to intimidate. It's a whole bunch of stuff. But either way, we don't condone that. So don't do that. Period. Don't do it. But this is probably a good time to invoke the rule. The judicial system has this thing that attorneys refer to as the rule. In certain court cases, a judge will sometimes ask an attorney if they want to invoke the rule. Sometimes an attorney will just say, I'm invoking the rule. And what this is a way to keep witnesses from talking to each other, communicating with each other during the trial, getting their stories straight, telling each other what questions they were asked, that kind of thing. It sequesters the witnesses from each other during the course of a trial to help make it a more fair trial. If not every jurisdiction, nearly every jurisdiction has one. They may have different numbers. In the federal rules of evidence, it's Rule 615. It's different in Tennessee. I'm not sure what it is anywhere else. But we're going to start using that. We're going to modify it for our own nefarious purposes. And we're going to, or I'm going to, every time I make a video, I'm going to invoke the rule. And it's similar to what Peg Leg Finance says. This is a safari, not a petting zoo. As my daughter suggested, this is a poo museum. Do not touch the poo. Either way, if you are mad at anybody, talk about it in our comments. Don't send them hate through email, comments on their social media, real mail, telephone calls. Don't do any of that. If you really want to say something about it, say it in our comments. Talk to us about it. Talk to each other about it. We'll be happy to engage with you. But here is the place for it. Putting hate on other people, not okay with me at all. Don't do it. Just leave them the hell alone. Now, if on the other hand, we talk about somebody and you love them, go give them love. Follow them, subscribe to them, like them, send them, heartwarming messages. That's great. But if you don't like them, keep it here with us. All right, guys, if you hear any random noises, Ruth Puppy Ginsburg is sitting right next to me here, and she's asleep. And she was just now barking in her sleep. So if she starts making random noises or Salty Bob's hat cam starts moving, it's because of the dog. So just please forgive that one. All right, so Salty Bob was going to do this, but that falls to me now. So from his notes, she talks about stalking. So let's look at that. So it's really funny, actually, in the cease and desist that Janet, Ms. Yonkers Bedonkers, decided to send to Kitty. She actually refers people to Section 2261 of the United States Code, Title 18. And what's really funny is that this is specifically about domestic violence. It's 2261A that is actually not someone who is in a relationship with you. So we think 2261A 2261A2. Anyone whoever, with the intent to kill, injure, harass, intimidate, or place under surveillance with intent to kill, injure, harass, or intimidate another person, uses the mail, any interactive computer service, or electronic communication service or electronic communication system of interstate commerce, or any other facility of interstate or foreign commerce to engage in a course of conduct that causes, attempts to cause, or would be reasonably expected to cause substantial emotional distress to a person described in clause I, or III of paragraph 1A, which would be above that person, immediate family member, spouse, pet, service animal, horse, yada, yada. What's really funny is that while Janet, in her cease and desist, accuses Kitty of doing this, I believe that, and Salty Bob believed that since so many phone systems now are IP phone systems, there's things like Ring Central, Vonage, I think, has one. Yeah, I think it's Vonage. Anyway, those are electronic communication services, which means that their telephone calls used electronic communication services. So, in theory, they actually broke this law themselves right immediately before accusing Kitty of breaking this law, which I thought was fucking funny as hell. But who knows what's really true? And obviously, again, federal court criminal charges, it's probably too small potatoes for a federal attorney to take it anywhere, but that is another possible thing to take into consideration. Now, the next thing that she said was bullying. And the United States Code doesn't actually have a definition of bullying, but you know who does? TikTok. And this is TikTok's page, and I will link it. All of these things I'm pulling up, obviously, I will be linking them in the description. And as far as TikTok's concerned, bullying can be defined in many ways, but it typically involves targeted, repeated behavior that intends to cause physical, social, and or psychological harm. Now, repeated behavior only has to be repeated once. And there were 2 phone calls. So, one phone call for a wellness check, and then that behavior was repeated. So, I think that Lauren and Janet are both guilty of bullying Kitty with the wellness checks. Not to mention filing the lawsuit and everything else that they've done. But again, I I don't know that Lauren has been the target of any bullying behavior, but it's possible, I suppose. Um, but that's what bullying is. So she goes on to explain some of the things that have happened, and we'll talk about whether we think those actually are bullying behaviors. The next thing she mentions is harassment. Now, there wasn't a definition of harassment in the stalking statute. However, we do have a description of harassment under obstruction of justice. So, again, Salty Bob was going to do this, but from his notes, let's see, where is it? As used in this section, the term harassment means a course of conduct directed at a specific person that causes substantial emotional distress in such person and serves no legitimate purpose. And the term course of conduct means a series of acts over a period of time, however short, indicating a continuity of purpose. Now, this is a really, really important thing to keep in mind because I can't remember how much of it we talked about, but I do believe we talked about it at least some in our last video. A course of conduct actually means just taking steps one after the other. And we talked about it when we were talking about conspiracy. Because with conspiracy, you don't have to actually accomplish the thing that you were going to do. You just have to take steps towards that. This is the same kind of thing, a course of conduct. But this in particular would be a course of conduct meant to harass someone. And that means picking up a phone, making a phone call, and then having someone else pick up a phone and make a phone call to do a wellness check that is not needed. So, again, it looks like this time we're talking about violating United States Code Title 18, Chapter 73, Section 1514. So, Section 1514, subsection F4C, which describes harassment and describes course of conduct, and there can be civil actions taken to restrain harassment of a victim or witness in this particular situation. So stalking, bullying, and harassment consistently over the last 2 months wouldn't have started when you first started going after Jamie Grayson, would it have, Lauren? Let's see what she has to say.
It is to the level that the normal person would probably unalive themselves.
What? Oh, this made me crazy when I first heard this. This made me so angry. The normal person would have unalived themselves through the terrible shit that I have been put under. I don't know if she thinks she's that much more emotionally stable than everybody else. I can't even wrap my head around that. But let's just let her continue on her merry little way.
With the amount of shit I have been through. My address was leaked, my real name, along with my funeral director license, was all put on blast and put out to the world to see. Well, the funeral director license was up, and then when people realized that I have actually been doing this for longer than they thought, it was taken down.
Okay, so the things that happened are that she got doxxed. Do normal people really kill themselves over getting doxxed? I mean, I've heard of people getting doxxed. It seems like people get doxxed on the internet on a semi-regular basis, but I'm not hearing about this huge, total, people just dropping dead, or I'm sorry, unaliving themselves over getting doxxed. So that's crazy. Um, but what kills me worse than that is that she's actually got the sheer audacity to play the whole suicidal over shit someone said over the internet card, while at the same time pointing out that someone killed themselves on the internet after being accused of grooming children in her lawsuit that she filed against this person she made the wellness check calls on, after she, as after as I wanted to say, after she said that Jamie was a pedophile. Now, Salty Bob wanted to make sure that I specifically said that she implied it. She didn't say it, she implied it. He kept interrupting me every time I said that. So this is what he put in his notes. He wanted to point this out.
The irony here is palpable.
He wanted to talk about what Runkle said. And that was Runkle reading the lawsuit, the disclaimer, or not the disclaimer, God, the defamation lawsuit. That was his response to that particular line in the lawsuit. So let's continue.
I had to have cops come to my house the other day to take a report.
What does that even mean? She had to have the cops come to her house to take a report. Did they have to take a report on fake blackmail, maybe? Fake extortion? Fake bullying? Fake harassment? Fake stalking, maybe? Maybe fake copyright infringement. Normal people have to make police reports all the fucking time. Maybe Lauren's a special princess that's traumatized by that. I don't know. Maybe she needs a wellness check, since what she's saying doesn't sound rational and it's not like her normal content. When I first mentioned that to Salty Bob, he was like, no. Do not do that. Do not do that. No. Absolutely not. No. So, and that's actually here in his notes. But he also said, maybe they just showed up and banged on her door, surprising and alarming her like they would have in a wellness check. But no, we're not saying do that. Please, no one do that. No one do that. All right. Okay. Let's see here. What else craziness does she say?
Like, this has all escalated to a point that is beyond reason. And this all began over a campaign to get me canceled over some dumb shit that I liked on Instagram.
Oh, God. First off, did you guys notice the grin on her face? That grin, there is no way that someone's grinning like that if there's an actual campaign to cancel someone. That's just not your reaction. Clearly what happened was the interneted. They uncovered what she was doing. It showed its displeasure, and that hurt her feelings. Also, you notice that what she's doing here when she's talking about this is some stupid shit she liked on Instagram or whatever it was she said. She's downplaying it. It's liking content that completely invalidates an entire group of people. And she's just minimizing it, downplaying it. It's I guess being hateful is only hurtful when it's done to her, but not by her. Okay.
I'm not a TERF. I'm not transphobic. I'm not homophobic. I am none of those
Yes,
things.
you
I follow left and right creators. I can even like something if I don't agree with
Yes.
it.
Yes, you can. And then everybody else on the internet and their mom and their brothers and their second cousins and the men on Mars can call you out for your bad behavior. Normal people on the internet actually understand how the internet works. When you click that like button, you are telling the creator and everybody on the internet that anybody on the internet that sees that like and the creator, you're telling them that you like that content, you agree with it, and you support it. Salty Bob's notes say normal social constructs don't apply to Lauren, apparently. It's absolutely delusional to believe anything different. Also, the Do We Know Them podcast did reply to this response, or whatever we want to call this exposing video, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, and I'm going to link that because Jessi did have some responses that are the same as mine on it. I actually saw I saw Lauren's video before I saw Jessi's response, but I don't want to be accused of doing any kind of special, stealing stuff. So I'm linking it. She does say some of the similar things to me, and her responses are really good. So you should go check that out. But let's see. I think she says some more on this, if I remember correctly. So let's give her a chance to say some more stupid shit.
And I mean, shit, if you're a mutual with me, I've probably liked your content because I saw your face. I like you, wanted to support you, didn't watch your video, didn't read it. Sorry, when I'm doom scrolling, I'm doom scrolling.
When I'm doom scrolling, I'm doom scrolling. It's absolutely delusional to think that liking some content does not tell the world that you support that content. Everyone, just look away for a minute. I'm going to talk to Lauren for just 1 second. Lauren, you know the solution to being a dumbass and liking hateful shit that you don't care enough to pay attention to and then being called out for it? It's simple. You go back and you unlike the hateful shit. You make a statement explaining that you were a dumbass and didn't understand that with millions of followers, your likes had some form of impact on other people's lives. You continue that statement, say you were an idiot and liked stuff you didn't even watch, you didn't know and realize it was hateful. Then you keep on with that statement, say that you're sorry to all the people that you hurt with your idiotic, careless actions. Swear from now on that you're not going to like things until you at least watch them because you don't want to cause additional harm to marginalized people. And you're going to ask your followers to help you out and keep you honest by telling you if they find any other hateful shit you like, so that you can go fix it. Or, I guess you could do whatever you want, and just assume that having a huge audience and being unmindful of other people is not important, and you're not responsible for anything you do. Salty Bob had a note in here. He says, for example, that's like us. You can like people without supporting what they do. You generally need to call them to task for it. You can also like what people do without liking them. You can like certain things that they do. For example, what he was talking about is, he said, that's like us. We both like Harry Potter, even though J.K. Rowling's a TERF. We both love Ender's Game, that series of books. His favorite was actually Speaker for the Dead in that series of books. So if you haven't read the series, if you can, we don't want you to give Card any money or his, we don't want that. But if you can read, if you can borrow them from somebody or check them out from a library or anything like that, then we'd suggest that you read those books. And if you can get to Speaker for the Dead, highly recommend it. But we honestly believe Orson Scott Card is a shit human being. We just don't, you know, it's something we've eventually learned how to do, divorce the artist from their art. It's not always possible, but at this point, that's what we've decided to do. He also had a note in here, a Thomas Jefferson quote. It's eat crow while it is young and tender, or surely you will eat it when it's old and tough. Um, and I think he meant, Lauren, you could have immediately after that happened come out and said, oops, and apologized, fallen on your sword, and you would have done way, way better than what's been happening on this. All right. What other bullshit have you got to say here?
The bullying and harassment towards me has not stopped these last 2 months. If anything, it's getting worse because people are wanting me to come out and admit things about myself that are not true, and I will not do it.
Lauren. What you call bullying and harassment, the rest of the world calls calling you out on your bullshit. And yes, it's gotten worse. It's gotten worse because you have continued and escalated your campaign of actual harassment and true bullying against other creators. In my opinion, obviously not a legal opinion, I'm not an attorney, not licensed to do anything. In my opinion, you've defamed Jamie Grayson. You filed false copyright strikes against many other creators simply to shut them up. You have accused professionals like doctors, certified child passenger safety technicians, and other professionals of bullying when literally all they've done is come on, stitched a video of yours, whatever, and pointed out where you were wrong. They were correcting the crap you put out there. That's not bullying. You're acting like a spoiled little shit, and people don't like it. So, of course, it got worse. Salty Bob's notes simply say, we went over this. You folks have seen this. Is not bullying. It's not harassment. We've read the definitions. And saying you did wrong or calling you out for liking hateful things, those are not bullying and harassment. They just aren't. Calling someone a pedophile, that could be bullying and harassment. Let's see. What else does she have to say?
I have not attacked any smaller creators.
Oh. Lauren, calling someone a pedophile is an attack. Now, Salty Bob's notes have in big, huge letters with stars all around it, implying someone is a pedophile. So I have to say implying, but that's an attack. Filing false copyright strikes is attacking. Sending abusive cease and desist letters is attacking. Accusing people of bullying when they are just correcting you is attacking them, period. And these people are smaller creators than you. So that's just a lie. It's a flat out lie. I should have put up a lie counter. Maybe I'll go back and add a lie counter. So, if you get to this part of the video and you see this, you've seen this number clicking up in the upper right hand corner of the screen and you didn't know what it was, now you know that's the lie counter. I guess that's what I'm going to do. So it'll be up over there somewhere, I think. But yeah, liar, pants on fire. Stop it. Sorry, that wasn't an earthquake that made Salty Bob's hat move, guys. That was Ruth Puppy Ginsburg getting up and heading off to get some water or something. Actually, I'm trying really hard to conserve finances, and it's gotten a little hot today. So if I get a little sheen, guys, please forgive me. It's I'm trying not to use the air conditioner, trying to conserve electricity at least a little bit. Anyway, let's get back to crazy dunce lady. See what she has to say.
I was sent an email that told me that if I did not own up to being transphobic, more defamatory content was going to be made about me to continue this hate campaign.
No. Salty Bob's notes have in all caps, this is not what was said. And for my statement, the letter said to be honest with her audience because it's the right thing to do. The letter also warned her that the internet is going to internet. The internet will keep looking, and when they find things, they're going to let people know. This is not like making shit up. See, that's the thing. The one, as Salty Bob would say, the one clear get out of jail free card response, the one true defense to defamation is the truth. And the truth is that she liked those things, and she has no excuse for it. Now, in his notes, Salty Bob points out that not once did they say anything about purposefully hurting her reputation. And to me, it really seems like she wants to maintain a reputation she doesn't deserve. Liking shit that's hurtful to others, that's what she does, and that's just the truth. There is no defamation there. Let's continue. See what else she has to say.
To purposefully hurt my reputation, and I can tell you right now that this person was not a fan of mine. Nowhere in that email did I ever get the understanding that they even liked me.
And in Salty Bob's notes, whether the person was a fan or not does not matter. Period. That has no bearing on this whatsoever. Not one scintilla, not one iota, nothing. No bearing at all. So, have you guys noticed we're what now? We're how many minutes? I don't know. I think we're probably about halfway through. I got to go back and check. But we still haven't heard why she did it, unless it's in revenge for all this harassment that she's been getting. I don't know. The wellness check is revenge, maybe? I don't know. Let's see if she says anything about it yet. Let's go here, Lauren. Oh, dunce cap lady.
Immediately sent this email to Jeanette, my lawyer. She replied to their email. She sent them a cease and desist, all in hopes that this person would hire a lawyer and it would be settled and I wouldn't have to do a thing about it.
This takes so much unpacking. And this was the root reason why Salty Bob and I really felt like we needed to make this video. He was highly offended that the legal system that he loves, that he was so dedicated to, that he, from the moment he got up in the morning to the moment he finally gave in and went to sleep at night, he thought about the law and thought about ways to make it better, thought about ways to make it help people. Yes. And what Yonkers Bedonkers Janet and Lauren the Mortician have done is used the law as a cudgel. And in this video, she's actually admitting it. So Salty Bob's notes are, hiring an attorney does not mean that you don't have to do anything else. He said he would disabuse any client of his who thought this with a quickness. His client would have to approve a cease and desist that he wanted to send before he sent it. So they would have to read it, read what it said, make sure they understood it, make sure it did what they wanted it to do, and then approve it before it could be sent. Also, he would have to discuss with his client the next steps if the cease and desist didn't accomplish the stated goal of the cease and desist. So, just from that point of view, obviously, you can't not do anything once you do a cease and desist. It's not possible. My notes talk about a 100% foolproof way to not have to do anything at all if you get an email you don't like. It's called delete it, ignore it, and move on with your life, which is what Lauren should have done. Um, Salty Bob has actually notes on the difference between a valid cease and desist letter and an abusive cease and desist. There's actually a paper, and I cannot remember the professor's name right now, who did a whole report and paper on what he called copy fraud. Most of the cases that he was talking about were when people like the Metropolitan Museum of Art, for example, would claim copyright for a piece of artwork that was done by Da Vinci, for example. Obviously, the copyright still it does not exist anymore. That piece of artwork is in the public domain, and yet they try to claim copyright to it because they have the original. I will link in the description the paper that discusses all that. But one of the things that he talks about is how copy fraud is also involved with people who claim that someone else has taken their copyright when they actually did use something that they have the copyright to. So, person A uses something that person B has copyright to, but person A has a fair use right to use it, but person B still tries to copyright claim person A's work. And that's also an example of copy fraud as far as that professor is concerned. And Salty Bob had one of the things that that person was talking about was valid cease and desist letters and abusive cease and desist letters. And people who commit copy fraud tend to use abusive cease and desist letters, while people who have legitimate copyright claims use valid cease and desist letters. So he's got some notes here. He says, an abusive cease and desist has three purposes. Well, he says first, a valid cease and desist has three purposes. Cease, get them to stop doing the thing. Desist, don't do the thing anymore. And notice, it puts the person on notice that if they don't cease and desist, you may take further legal action. So, legitimate purposes for valid cease and desists. Abusive cease and desists also have three purposes. They are to instill fear in someone, to force someone to spend money that they possibly don't have, to hire an attorney to protect themselves against possible unwarranted legal action, and to coerce an agreement or settlement. And I've read the cease and desists. Salty Bob read them. He believed that they were absolutely abusive. Runkle of the Bailey also thought that they were ridiculous. Mad Catster thought they were ridiculous. Peg Leg Finance thought they were ridiculous. So, and I'll put links to all those people or all those videos in the bottom where they go over the cease and desists. But the part that I wanted to talk about was that this cease and desist, Lauren actually says the quiet part out loud. She literally says, I sent this email straight to my attorney and had my attorney send a cease and desist in the hopes that this person would hire an attorney and I wouldn't have to do anything. Now, that means that she literally specifically wanted Kitty, who the cease and desist was to, she wanted Kitty to have to hire an attorney. That was her intent in this. So, like I said, she said the quiet part out loud. That's just, like I said, Salty Bob was really pissed about using the law as a cudgel. And it offended his sensibilities to a point that this video had to get made no matter how late I was on it, no matter what it took to get it out. So let's go back to her craziness.
Then, another girl named Kitty, who also makes content on this app, emailed my lawyer, Jeanette, directly to Jeanette. Nothing came to me, right to the lawyer.
What the hell is wrong with you? First, you're offended when someone emails you directly. Second, you're offended when someone sends an email directly to your attorney. I think this pretty much demonstrates Lauren's mindset. If someone's criticizing Lauren in any way, there is just no way they are allowed to do that without her losing her shit. Seriously, Lauren, when you do a copyright strike on someone, even a false copyright strike, the contact information of the person who filed the strike is sent to the target. That way they can get in touch with each other to hopefully get it all sorted out without YouTube or whatever platform having to be involved. That is the way it is supposed to work. This is not this huge, big, crazy thing. And I she's crazy. Dunce cap. Needs the dunce cap. She also fails to mention the fact that the reason Kitty had Janet's information was because Janet had filed enough strikes against Kitty to take down her monetized Facebook page. But she tends to leave stuff out, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Salty Bob had a note: strike request, not a false copyright strike, a false copyright strike request. He wanted to remind everybody that lawyers are pedantic, just like Janet was when she was talking about how it was impossible for her to file a false copyright strike. So that was one of his notes, one of the things that he found it was very important.
And she tried to blackmail my lawyer.
Okay. I have two responses to that. And one is a somewhat charitable response. The other one's not. So I'm going to play the charitable one first, just because, might as well, right?
You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
That would be the more charitable option that I think Salty Bob would have preferred. That's my guess, obviously. But then there's the actual immediate response I had as soon as I heard her say this. Liar! Liar! I'm not starting to have a theme or anything like that. I swear, I'm not. Asking if someone is really an attorney, retained by someone else, and pointing out that it would look bad if they weren't, is not blackmail. Salty Bob had lots of notes about this. So let me just read you what he said. How can an attorney not know and not advise her client what legal terms actually mean? Did you know that publicly saying that someone committed a crime is defamation per se in Illinois? Most other states as well. And just to show you that Salty Bob knew what he was talking about. Here we go. Solaya Tech versus Specialty Publish Company. And this is a Supreme Court case, Supreme Court of Illinois, published in June of 2006. And his notes say around line 580. Or paragraph maybe, I don't know. 573, 576, 77, 79, 80. Okay. And so this is what the Supreme Court said. In Illinois, there are 5 categories of statements that are considered defamatory per se, which is what they are suing Kitty and the girlies and Becca Day for. Defamation per se. So, one is words that impute a person has committed a crime. That is the first thing listed in that case. Other things are, a loathsome communicable disease. So, if you say someone has like an STD, that's defamation per se. Words that impute that a person is unable to perform or lacks integrity in performing his or her employment duties. And words that impute a person lacks ability or otherwise prejudices that person in his or her profession. And words that impute a person has engaged in adultery or fornication. So, used to be suggesting that a woman had committed an adultery and not that men had, but now It's apparently what's good for the goose is good for the gander, so that's a good thing. But saying someone that has committed a crime and not telling the truth about it, words that impute a person has committed a crime, is one of the categories of statements that are considered defamatory per se, according to the Supreme Court of Illinois. So that looks like defamation per se. I mean, I could be, just pulling crap out of my ass. It's definitely my opinion, and it was Salty Bob's opinion, that this was defamation per se. And the rest of his notes go on to say, so saying that someone has committed a crime literally is the thing that Janet and Lauren are suing the girlies over right now. She didn't say that she believed it was blackmail. She never pointed out that what she was saying was her opinion. Based on that, it was definitely Salty Bob's opinion that Lauren defamed Kitty and the other person in this video, whoever that other person is. So, okay. Next. Okay. Yes, I still have some joy right now because I know I'm doing something that Salty Bob wanted to get done. But man, she's not making it easy. All right, next, let's see what she says here.
Kitty made it clear in the email that she was working with the first girl.
Salty Bob's notes say, pedantic lawyer shit. Kitty did not say she was working with the first girl. For me, actually, I keep trying to tell myself the old quote about not attributing to malice what can be attributed to stupidity. But either she's lying or she has some serious reading comprehension issues and listening comprehension issues. Or maybe they're Janet's issues and Janet just misinformed her client. I don't know. In her video first discussing the wellness checks, Kitty states that she recognizes Janet's name from having spoken with someone who mentioned getting an unhinged response to an email that she sent Lauren. That was when Yonkers Bedonkers attorney emailed this first girl, whoever this is, this unknown person, so that's where Kitty recognized Janet's name. So I think Lauren thinks that's a clue. Then in the email itself, Kitty mentions that she had been in contact with the actual copyright holder of the original video that Janet submitted the false copyright strike request for. And she confirmed with the first girl that she had permission to use it. She also mentioned that she'd been told that Janet had been false copyright striking other creators. None, not even one of those things even vaguely imply that Kitty had been working with that first girl to extort and blackmail Lauren. Let's see what else she says here.
To extort and blackmail me together. They just thought they were being sneaky or something by sending it from that first original email, that smaller creator, whoever that is, that I can't say.
I find it really, really weird how at the end of that, she's like, whoever that other creator is, that first girl, the person whoever it is, I can't say. Why can't you say it? Is that the legal stuff that you can't talk about, maybe? Did that person hire a lawyer like you wanted them to and somehow force Lauren to agree to keep her, force Lauren to keep her name out her mouth? I found it really, really interesting. Janet being the one who has the comprehension issues is the theory that Salty Bob would prefer to go with, but that's just because he was very, very livid about what Janet did. So, yeah. Let's go back to it. Okay, here we go. Apparently this, I've got notes that Salty Bob got really pissed at this part. So, let's see here.
My lawyer never once said that they would be facing jail time over not giving me a public apology. That is a false narrative being spread.
Okay. Again, this is the part that really got him heated, because he when he saw the cease and desist, and she said, just for your edification, if I remember correctly, she said for your edification and couldn't spell it right, but I'm not positive. Anyway, when he saw that, and he read the listing of crimes, he kept saying, "You can't do that. You can't do that." Again, livid, because it was an attempt to skirt around the ethical rules that say you can't threaten criminal action to get a benefit in a civil action. So this is not a direct lie, but clearly she's trying to mislead everybody. It's blatant. Yeah, like I said, Janet couched it as informing her of potential criminal violations, and for her edification, there was a clear attempt to use some sort of, quote, protective language, which is not really a thing normally, but it was an attempt to skirt around her ethical constraints. But here's the thing that gets me. If Lauren can claim that Kitty, quote, made it clear that she was working with the other girl, then I get to say that Janet threatened jail time for no apology. I mean, that's just the way it is. That's it. I've got notes in here that Salty Bob was he wanted to make sure everybody knew he was slightly less livid than he was regarding the wellness checks when he saw the cease and desist. Yep. You can't do that. What the fuck? How? You can't do that. It's a violation of the Code of Ethics to threaten criminal charges in an attempt to gain an advantage in civil litigation. And he wanted me to, he was going to pull up a reminder of what it says. And that is, again, these are the Illinois Rules of Professional Responsibility. And he wanted to show you guys 8.4G. So this is 8.4 and G. So present, participate in presenting, or threaten to present criminal or professional disciplinary charges to obtain an advantage in a civil matter. And it is professional misconduct for a lawyer to present, participate in presenting, or threaten to present criminal or professional disciplinary charges to obtain an advantage in a civil matter. And if I remember correctly, in the cease and desist, she actually said something about contacting the other authorities within the cease and desist itself. So that's something that just made him crazy. Like I said, it wasn't as bad as the actual wellness checks itself, but that was still pretty bad. Let's see. The rest of his notes say, now sometimes there's confusion even among attorneys about what statutes mean, what case law means, and what ethics rules means. That's why they have comment sections for these things. That's also why they have requirements for attorneys to maintain their CLEs, continuing legal education, to be able to keep their licenses. And this is a quote from his, and you're up to date on your ethics CLEs. Right, Janet? Right? And he has an article from Mary F. Andrioni, ARDC, Attorney Registration and Disciplinary Commission. So in In Tennessee, they just call it the Tennessee bar. But the ARDC is apparently what they call it in Illinois. She's the Ethics Education Senior Counsel, and she did an article about this that he has linked. So hang on a second. Let me pull that up for you guys. Okay, here it is. So this is an article that she wrote explaining specifically 8.4G. It provides that it's professional misconduct for a lawyer to participate in presenting, or threaten to present criminal or professional disciplinary charges to obtain an advantage in a civil matter. And that she talks about multiple cases. Again, I'm going to have it linked below, but she talks about multiple cases. And then this one, she talks about a complaint that was dismissed because the statements in a lawyer's letter to opposing counsel were not sufficient to constitute a clear threat to pursue criminal charges, as the letter did not mention contacting any law enforcement agency or other authority, did not specifically threaten any criminal prosecution, and the statements could be reasonably interpreted as a statement of the lawyer's intention to raise these matters in support of his motion for sanctions in the civil case. In Salty Bob's opinion, obviously in the letter she mentioned that criminal authorities were going to be contacted. She also mentioned it in the wellness check call. And it could not, the way she said it, it could not reasonably be interpreted as a statement of her intention to raise the criminal matters in the civil case. The other thing is that she did, like I said, because she did mention contacting a law enforcement agency. And in this case where it was dismissed, they didn't mention contacting a law enforcement agency. So the fact that she did mention it in her cease and desist puts it on the line where this could actually be another ethical infringement. So that's, again, an issue that, like I said, Salty Bob loved the law. He loved his job. He loved what he did every day. And to have an attorney behave this way was beyond the pale as far as he was concerned. It was ridiculous. Okay, so what's she going to say next?
Kitty purposefully made a video and put it out to hurt me and gather the masses against me.
Lauren is a lying liar face who lies. Kitty repeatedly and specifically in her video said to not give Lauren any hate. How is that possibly, quote, gathering the masses? And to hurt her? All right. I wrote this down because Salty Bob actually really, really liked it when I said it. And I'm afraid I won't say it exactly right. And things that he liked are really important to me right now. So this is what I have to say to Lauren. Look, chick, if you don't care enough about trans people not like transphobic content, then this is on you. Someone telling the truth about you is not them being mean. It is not them, quote, gathering the masses, end quote. It is not starting a campaign. It is speaking the truth. If being transphobic hurts your brand, then don't fucking like transphobic content. It is so stupid simple, even you should be able to figure that out. Okay, this next part, it amused me.
I had actually never watched any of her content until that video came out, but I had blocked her because she used to be in my comment section. I saw some questionable things and I blocked her.
So just want to leave this here for a minute.
I'm sure she will claim that she didn't even know who I was and had nothing to do with me, etc. It was just a matter of coincidence.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of amusing. Sorry, guys, I can't talk. Um, as Kitty said in that video, she was right, but not Lauren was kind of right. We, Salty Bob and I, have been really lucky so far. So I can't really speak to this from experience. Our comments have been incredibly supportive and really nice. But I would think normally you get enough questionable comments from enough different people that you wouldn't remember who you blocked. I mean, we have like 500 subscribers and we had like 6,000 people watch the video. So, someone who's got like 2.5 million followers and the 100,000 that watch them, you would think you probably have enough questionable comments from enough different people, especially when you make enough videos, that you wouldn't really remember who it was you blocked. Unless the stuff's like egregious, I wouldn't think you would remember it. Of course, if she classifies it as questionable, wouldn't she check that person out to see if maybe she's misreading it? I mean, if she cares enough to remember the name, you think she might care enough to actually go see who they are, see if maybe she's misreading what she thought was questionable. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? I mean, you guys are involved in the comment sections. Let me know what you think. But back to what I was saying, what kind of questionable things? Things like transphobic content? Things not caring if the things she was liking was hurting other people? Like advocating wellness checks on someone you're about to file suit against? What does she consider questionable? Considering what she likes and considering what she does, what would qualify as questionable? Or does she actually mean questions? Like, how are you qualified to determine if something is safe for children or not? Maybe that's what she means, and she doesn't understand the difference between questions and questionable. Maybe. That's my guess.
If it was really her intention to not hurt me, and just to clarify a few things, because her and I use similar calling cards with the Beetlejuice, then she would have just come out and said that in the video. She would have said, hey guys, this is what's happened. I want you to know that I am not Lauren, okay? But no, she started the video off like Lauren the Mortician is a turf, which I am not. I am not.
Okay. So, Salty's Bob's notes here have, look, Lauren, if the shoe fits. And he wanted to point out that she never claimed that any of the content that she liked was not transphobic in this video. She never once. She says she's not transphobic, but she never claimed that it wasn't transphobic content. So, Lauren, if the shoe fits. Okay. Hopefully, we're getting close to the end here, because, this 7 minutes. And you know what I just realized? She still hasn't mentioned one reason why she made the wellness call. At least that's what she claims. She has not had one thing about the wellness call yet. So let's see what she has to say here.
Everyone watching this, you only have one side of the story. You don't have both. And they are cherry picking what they want to tell people, and people are falling for it.
Okay. So, this video is gaslighting at its finest. At least this first part. This video showing that she believes that any of her previous viewers who believe what they see in front of their own faces are apparently stupid. It blows my mind. Apparently, because she believes they're falling for it. Only one side of the story is what she claims. So here's what we've got. We've got copies of the multiple false copyright strike requests she had her attorney make. Audio from the Dumb Blonde podcast where she implies that Jamie's a pedophile. A copy of the Facebook post where she implies that Jamie's a pedophile. Multiple copies of different cease and desist letters where she accuses people of crimes they didn't commit, threaten them with jail time, threaten them with civil legal action, attempt to coerce behavior, and extort money from them. Copies of the audio of the wellness check calls, which amount to swatting, according to Judge Benjamin Franklin. The Honorable Jeffrey Middleton. I call him Benjamin Franklin here. I'll show you where he talks about this, and you'll see why I say that.
This is, I guess, form of swatting. What was at jeopardy with her welfare?
So you guys see why I call him Benjamin Franklin. You tell him, Your Honor. It amounts to swatting. A wellness check that was not necessary amounts to swatting. So we've got a copy of the wellness check calls, which amount to swatting, according to the Honorable Jeffrey Middleton. We got a copy of the freaking defamation lawsuit that can't even provide the proof that's needed to put a basic case together. I mean, honestly, it cannot. Even as far as I'm concerned, their amended lawsuit doesn't. And I'll be doing a video shortly on that one as well. But we have a lot of sides to this story. It is classic gaslighting to tell people that they don't have what they can literally point to right in front of you and show that they have it. But she's a gaslighter, criminal gaslighter as far as I'm concerned. But, you know, that is my opinion. She has not been adjudicated a criminal in a court of law that I know of. All right, what's next? Okay, so we're over 4 minutes into this video now, and I think she is about to start actually talking about the wellness check calls. You know, this video that should be ironclad proof of why she did what she did and a complete justification for it. Well, that part's starting right now. So let's see what she has to say. She says,
calls were made to the non-emergency number for a wellness check.
okay. So Salty Bob and I debated on this one. We think that statement might actually be evidence that Janet did some research. But we're not 100% sure. But first, what I want to talk about is, I don't know if you noticed, but what she said was, calls were made to the non-emergency number. Now, those of you who have watched the plagiarism video by H.H. Bomber Guy will know what I'm about to say. But the concept existed long before he did that video. So just know that I actually came up with this when I first watched this video back in January during one of our hospital trips. It's taken me this long to get this video done. Too much shit happened. Anyway, so she's trying to distance herself from those calls. Calls were made, not I made a call. It's the kind of thing you say when you're ashamed of your actions. It's like mistakes were made, rather than I made mistakes. Yeah. Salty Bob and I were working on this video since way back then. It was just chemo treatments, emergency room visits, hospital stays, and then eventually his passing that got in the way. But back to the evidence that Janet maybe did some research, but just wasn't competent enough to actually do real research into it. There is a law against making false claims to 911 in Georgia. In our previous video, we did actually go over that because Mad Catster had mentioned it in one of his videos about the wellness check calls. And he thought that they broke that law, but that was back before he knew it was not a 911 call that was made. The thing is, she didn't research far enough to see that there are laws against making false claims to any officer in the jurisdiction, or actually making false claims that will come to the attention of any official in the jurisdiction about something that they have jurisdiction over. That's covered in our last video too, or not our last video, but our first video actually. Besides, they were in other states. We think Lauren may have been in Florida. We think Janet, Ms. Yonkers Bedonkers herself, was in South Carolina or Illinois. Either way, if you try to call 911 on your cell phone and you're in another state, will that even get you to the right people? So this may not have been a virtue. This may have just been a necessity. So, you know, I personally, it shows that possibly Janet did some research, but, you know, she appears to be too incompetent to do complete research, or that Lauren is painting a necessity as a virtue. Either way, you know, it's not good stuff. Okay, this is where it starts getting good. So she's going to list off the reasons that she called, and I'm going to bring those up as we listen to this part of the video. And then we'll compare them after she's done. So let's see here.
The concerns came from watching lives and the posts that kept happening in the comments. She talks about needing to ingest blood to survive. She talks about eating organs. She talks about doing demonic things. Then add the blackmailing, the going off of her normal content. I mean, it's concerning. It was concerning. I do not think that anybody in their right and reasonable frame of mind would be making that type of content and continuing this spiral. I was genuinely concerned because of her unhinged posts and her actions. I have seen what happens, okay? I've seen when people lose it. I've seen the aftermath of it. I've seen what unaliving oneself looks like, and not 100% saying she was going to do that.
I had to stop it there because that, oh God, that makes me so mad. Okay, I'll back up and come back to that part, and we'll just yeah, okay. We'll compare these words. Obviously, unalive herself, do something to herself or something to somebody else. So let's go to this and compare. These are the words that she actually used in her call, and these are the words that she used in her video. Ingest blood is not in her call. Eating organs, not in her call. Doing demonic things, not in her call at all. She does say stuff about it not being her normal content. She does talk about blackmailing. So obviously blackmailing is very important to her. But we obviously don't think that word means what she thinks it means. She uses reasonable mind rather than irrational. She does use spiral more than once. She uses them in both. She uses the word unhinged, which I think that someone else used unhinged in a video, and I think that's where she got that from. And then, of course, harm herself, something to herself, or other people, someone else. So the top 3 things that she listed as a reason for making this call, she doesn't mention in that call at all. And then the stuff she does mention on that call, on Reddit, on TikTok, acting erratic, wild. So there's things she didn't include in both. But you would think ingesting blood, eating organs, that kind of thing would be important. And then I wanted to point out who's doing this whole one side of the story thing. She doesn't mention to the viewers of that video that she had just filed enough copyright strikes against Kitty's Facebook page, Kitty's monetized Facebook page. And I didn't even know you could monetize a Facebook page, but she had filed enough strikes against that it was completely taken down. And I'm sorry, having a source of income be taken away from you unjustly is definitely a reason for erratic behavior. I don't understand how she doesn't understand that. But to me, it seems obvious that would be a reason to go off your normal content. But she doesn't tell the viewers. She doesn't tell the person that she called. Like I said, just compare. They're not the same thing. The reasons weren't really the reasons. Again. All right. Let's see here. Next.
Calling for a wellness check was not meant to be a swatting. No one called 911.
Somehow, she thinks that calling 911 is what makes something a swatting. And like I said, Magistrate Benjamin Franklin said that calling a wellness check on someone who doesn't need it amounts to a swatting. So, and like I said earlier, if she had actual concerns, why didn't she mention them to the dispatcher? See what else foolishness she's got to say.
I have seen what happens, okay? I've seen when people lose it. I've seen the aftermath of it. I've seen what unaliving oneself looks like.
Stop it.
Yeah. Since he just said something, let's do his next statement. By the way, this is a form of an appeal to authority, logical fallacy. Normally, that's where you claim something is true because an expert said it. In this case, though, she's claiming herself as an expert. My response? Oh, please. Isn't that what got you in trouble in the first place? Claiming that you have any special knowledge regarding suicide because you embalm people is insane. You know who else knows what unaliving oneself looks like? Any damn person who's had a loved one succumb to suicide. And based on statistics, that's way too fucking many people. You're not an expert. You're not special. Give the old shtick a rest. That's what I have to say to Lauren. She is... I can't even... I mean, that's making me crazy.
But this was not rational behavior from someone of sound mind. This really did come from a place of concern.
Not rational behavior. Seems damn fucking rational to me to be pissed off that someone filing false copyright charges or copyright strikes against you gets a stream of money taken away from you. That's crazy. And it seems damned rational to stay on brand like Kitty did. I mean, just like Lauren's doing, staying on brand with her I've seen what happens. It's ridiculous.
Because I thought she was going to do something to herself or to somebody else.
Really? Really? Why? Why did you think that? Does this point more to the stupidity over malice concept? I mean, who did Lauren think she was going to do something to? Was Lauren afraid that Kitty was going to do demonic things to her? Seriously? This is ridiculous.
This will be my only time addressing this on social media.
My opinion is that it's because either her lawyer told her to shut the fuck up and she's going to kind of listen, or because she's afraid that she'll give people more opportunity to pick apart all her lies. If she really wanted people to have the full story, she'd actually be honest. Salty Bob wrote down a note here that says, if we're really lucky, it won't be the last time, because Lauren will have to address it in a fucking lawsuit. I know that Salty Bob was in contact with Kitty. He was hoping to help her file a criminal suit in Georgia. I'm sort of glad he didn't get started on that, just because he would have had to leave so soon. But I'm also sad because I think Kitty has a just case in the situation. Wellness checks are evil and wellness checks are dangerous.
This is my truth, my story. If you don't agree with it, if you don't believe me, you can unfollow me or block me, but leave me alone. Not know how another creator on this app can call themselves a TikTok journalist when all they do is post one side of the story. Just one.
More lies. Kitty posted the original email she sent. She posted the cease and desist she sent. Becca covered it. How is that not telling both sides? Of course, we also can't ask Lauren for comment because she'll just have her Yonkers Bedonker's attorney send a cease and desist, threaten jail, legal action, or she'll just lie even more. It's ridiculous.
In an effort to defame another creator on this app. This is not a joke. This is my life, my real life.
Ah. Was it a fucking joke when you called Jamie Grayson a pedophile? Salty Bob wanted to make sure we said implied. Was it a joke when you sent armed police officers to Kitty's house? Was it a joke when you tried to get the Do We Know Them podcast YouTube channel taken down? Or when you tried to get YouTube to freeze all their earnings? Was that a joke to you? Was it a joke when you had Kitty's monetized Facebook page taken down? Was it a joke when you had Janet file multiple false copyright strike requests to get other creators' videos taken down? Was that a joke? You apparently seem to only think it's a joke when you do it to other people, but not a joke when it happens to you. It seems like a really bad case of main character syndrome to me.
And when you make content calling someone transphobic, a TERF, homophobic, all of these really hurtful things, there are real life consequences for doing that. If you take my images to defame me, to spread malicious lies about me.
Not lies. It was truth. Nothing but honest to God truth. That's... Lauren has a severe issue understanding the difference between truth and lies. I think we all know that by now.
Then I have the right to come after you to get that content taken down.
Okay, so Salty Bob's notes are: come after people by calling wellness checks on them, come after people by putting their lives in danger. He was really, really annoyed by that. Actually offended, outraged. Outraged is the right word. As far as I'm concerned, it's just, you don't have rights to use false copyright strikes to take content down. Period. If it's a false copyright strike, you don't have a right to do it. Period. There are real life consequences to filing false copyright strikes. There are real life consequences to filing frivolous defamation lawsuits. She took down Kitty's page. That is a real life consequence. People showed up, armed police officers showed up at Kitty's front door because there are real life consequences to all the shit that you do. Period.
You have the right to free speech.
No, you don't believe that. Lauren does not believe that people have the right to free speech. False copyright strikes prove that. Frivolous defamation cases prove that. She does not believe what she's saying right now. So, again, more lies.
You can talk about how you hate my hair, you think I'm fat, anything like that.
Okay. You can talk about how you hate my hair or you think I'm fat. I'm guessing that she's never ever read TikTok's terms of services. Terms of service. She literally just encouraged people to break TikTok's terms of service. You can criticize someone's actions, but you can't criticize their personality. You can't criticize their appearance. So I'm wondering, is encouraging people to break TikTok's terms of service actually against TikTok's terms of service? It seems like it might be. I don't know, but it seems like it should be.
But you don't have the right to take my content and use it to lie about me.
No, but people aren't lying about you. How do you? So, but this is what I find really interesting. This video is about the wellness check. So, why is she talking about having the right to take content down? That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me, unless the reason she did the wellness check was because Kitty said mean things about her, which I think this kind of proves it a little bit. I could be wrong, but just kind of points to her using the wellness check to intimidate someone and stifle their free speech rights. That's what it seems like to me.
While making a profit off of my face, my image, my like everything. You don't get to make a profit off of my shit.
I wanted to say that's what's chapping your ass most. Salty Bob instead wanted to say that's what's really boiling your piss, isn't it? Because that is a phrase that Marky has used that he'd never heard before, and he loved it. So I have to say, YouTuber Marky said the phrase. We've never heard it before. Salty Bob really wanted to use it. This is what I was going to say. They're making money off telling people the truth about what a horrible human being you are, Lauren. And yes, we do get to make a profit off of her shit. Well, not we, since our channel doesn't have the support to be monetized yet, but we being creators. Just like Bunny got to make a profit off of having her on her podcast, where together they got to imply that Jamie Grayson was a pedophile and make a profit off of that. Just like Lauren gets to make a profit off shaming parents and telling them they're going to kill their children. Just like the news gets to make a profit off using Donald Trump's likeness and reporting on his bullshit. People get to make money by speaking about issues of public importance. And you doing a fucking wellness check and illegitimately taking down people's sites is an issue of public import. You're not, but what you've done is. Trust me, people are not watching me and the girlies and those other creators for your content, Lauren. They're coming for the pointing and the laughing and for the mocking. Lots of the mocking. The market saturation argument just is more bullshit. Trust me, if they wanted to watch your video, they'd just watch your video. They wouldn't put up with my bullshit. They wouldn't do it at all. All right, what else is she saying here?
Every day like clockwork. You all are making new videos about me. There's some new information that I didn't even know about myself that now all of a sudden is getting spread through the internet.
Yes, every day like clockwork, people are making videos about her because you continue to be a stupid, ass-brained piece of shit, Lauren. You try to bully people when they say things you don't like. And yeah, you don't know these things about yourself because you have absolutely no capacity for self-reflection, self-examination, any of that shit. I promise we're getting really close to the end here, guys. If you've hung with me, I appreciate it. Remember to subscribe, like, comment, let me know what you think, all of that kind of good stuff. Hopefully she won't say too much more. She won't say much more crazy stuff. Let's see.
I am literally being stalked. I am being watched.
What? Oh my God. I wonder if she even hears the words that come out of her mouth. She's got over 2 million people who literally follow her on TikTok. They literally are following her. So, yes, you're literally being followed. If you could think for just once in your goddamn tiny little pea brain, think about what the fuck you're saying. Obviously, if she means a real life person is stalking her in real life, then that's different. I don't condone it. Don't do that, etc., etc., etc. Bad stuff, bad juju. Don't do it. But if it's in real life and Kitty was in a completely different state, then it wasn't fucking Kitty. And it has nothing to do with this goddamn video. Has nothing to do with the wellness checks that you claim this video is about. That's crazy. That's insane.
Everything I do. If you are going to take my images to further your social media career with lies, then I have the right to come after that content and get it taken down. Understand that not everybody is going to like me. That's okay. But when you are spreading lies that then lead to death threats on not only my life, but my children's life, that I cannot have that.
Obviously, death threats are not okay. Death threats against kids are even more not okay. Do not condone. Negative 10 out of 10 would not recommend. I'm not sure I actually believe her. She's accused people of blackmail, extortion, defamation, copyright infringement, stalking, harassment, etc. We know those are lies. So why should we believe at this point? And honestly, I haven't experienced it in a very long time. But death threats are a part of being online. If you don't like it, don't whine about it. Do something. Like press charges. Blame the people who are actually doing the threatening. We haven't seen any evidence, no proof of death threats. But we have seen lots of evidence of her lying. We've also seen no evidence that anyone has encouraged someone to make death threats against her. I wonder, though, if it's occurred to her at all that implying that someone's a pedophile might have caused death threats to be lobbed at Jamie. Those real-life consequences she was talking about earlier. I wonder. And that was it. I tried to hit play and it started over, so that's not right. This ended very, very suddenly. I wonder if she removed something at the end. By the way, she started the discussion of the wellness checks over 4 minutes into the video. It was 4 minutes, 14 seconds, frame 20. And it ended at 5 minutes, 39 seconds, frame 8. So she spent 1 minute and 25 seconds of this over 7 minute long video talking about the wellness checks themselves. She spent the rest of the time talking about what people have been doing to her and basically whining about the consequences of her own freaking actions. That and attempting to justify those actions. It seems like when you create a lot of content, you eventually can't hide who you are, really. And it turns out folks on the internet don't seem to like who she is.
You put one foot in front of the other, and soon you are walking out the door.
Okay, guys, that's basically most of what I have to say about Lauren's explanation of her wellness checks. This video has been a little difficult for me. I am getting better at getting out of bed every day, feeding myself, and doing things. It's taking some work, but eventually I know that I will be normal and happy again. All of you who have supported me since Salty Bob's passing, I really, really appreciate you guys. I am going to be doing more videos. He had lots more that he wanted to do. Again, accessible legal information for people. And please like, subscribe, comment, share this video with your friends. Let me know of other videos you're interested in having. I am currently working on an interview where I will be interviewing Jamie Grayson, the person that started all of Lauren's misfortunes, and addressing the negative impact that Lauren has had on his life, because I think sometimes he gets lost in the drama. And Salty Bob felt really strongly about making sure everybody knew that story really, really well. Thanks for watching. I'll be back as soon as I can. Bye. Oh, and stay salty.